What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today's reaction video is legal in the US, but not everywhere else in the world. I'm assuming that is. It says but not ... I'm assuming that is everywhere else.
Yeah,
it's got to be, hasn't it?
I think it. Well,
if
yeah,
it was a specific country, I'd just stated it.
Yeah.
So probably not the rest of the world. We've done a couple illegal in the US videos, haven't we? So this is going to be interesting. What are we missing out on, which is illegal over in the UK, all in the world as well? But you go to the US and suddenly you can do it.
You can do it.
You ready to get into this one?
Yeah.
Any guesses?
No, I have no idea.
No guesses. I don't know either, to be honest with you. That's why I put you on the spot, not me. Smash that button if you enjoy this content. Smash that subscribe button as well. What is the like goal for today?
2,400.
2,400. So get liking. And you know why you should like it? Because we have fibre. We have internet. So we're going to potentially be streaming tomorrow night.
We should promote this right now in case it doesn't work for this video.
No, it is. It's going to be up today. We are going out tonight, so hopefully we're going to get out. We're probably not going to stream tonight because we're going out. But we will be streaming tomorrow. And tomorrow night, what is going to be on the Patreon?
A
flat tour is going to be on a Patreon. And it may have a little bit of vlog footage from tonight heading to the place because you guys like a bit of art and stuff. We're going on the bus, aren't we?
He's just told me this now.
Yeah, I've just told that now. I was just thinking because we want to try and embellish that video a little bit as well. So I'll be on Patreon tomorrow, hopefully. And then 3 days after, so Wednesday, it will be on the channel. Smash that like button, guys. Smash that subscribe button. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Illegal in the US, but not everywhere else. What we got?
America is the freest, most freedom-full country in the entire world, despite what some hack YouTube lawyer says. And for those traveling internationally for the first time, you may be surprised to learn that many American rights, freedoms, and values are not universally held abroad. In fact, one country's liberty can be another country's crime. But in fact, we Americans are so constantly surrounded by so much freedom that we often just take it for granted. Like David Foster Wallace's metaphor, one fish asks another, "How's the water today?" And the other fish shoots him with an AR-15.
Wait, what?
And if you've spent your entire life in the land of the free and home of the brave, it can be easy to overlook the other countries that are, in fact, not America. There are tons of rights and activities that are perfectly legal in the United States, but could land you in some hot water if you tried it in another country. Like the mullet hairstyle, for example.
What?
The mullet, that iconic hairstyle of 1980s actors, rock stars, and athletes, really has no business continuing to exist in the 21st century, and yet, inexplicably, it still does. But this is America, damn it, where you don't have to fight for your right to party in the back and business in the front. But if you want to cosplay as Joe Dirt or compete in the USA Mullet Championships, yes, that is a very real...
I'm going to say it's a mullet championship. I kind of want to go a mullet just for that.
I'm not a mullet fan.
I'm personally not a mullet fan, but if you have a mullet, as long as you rock it, that's all that matters, as long as you're happy as well.
But it is
Everyone's
a very
different.
American thing when you see it on TV shows.
I was thinking Australian, though. I don't know why.
No, it's definitely American.
Very American. A few Aussies have mullets, don't we, though?
Yeah, but I think they get it from America.
Probably.
Like young Sheldon, Georgie has a mullet.
Yeah, that is true. It is quite
know,
American, actually,
American to me.
But it's not illegal everywhere. It's just not... Like, in the UK, it's hard.
It's just not...
It happens.
I mean, you could do whatever you like with your hair.
Do whatever you want.
They're not going to kill you if you have a mullet.
Very true, as long as you're happy. But it's not much in the UK, is it?
No.
The odd person will have it, and it probably...
Old school person, probably.
Very old school. But I guess, yeah, let us know what you guys think. Is it that common in the US? Like you say, TV shows... It kind of is.
The thing that people do, then it is your right as an American to look like an idiot. In fact, that might be the most fundamental American right that there is. But for certain freedom-hating countries trying to save you from yourselves, the mullet and other crimes of fashion constitute a criminal offense. For example, in 2010, Iran's Ministry of Culture officially said goodbye to mullets, banning the hairstyle for being un-Islamic. In an effort to rid the country of so-called decadent Western haircuts, Iran launched a crackdown on mullets, elaborate spikes, and long hair, because nothing says decadence like the mullet. Now, in years leading up to the ban, police have actually raided barbershops that offer these disfavored hairstyles. After the ban, violators have been subject to fines and impromptu haircuts by the police for violating these standards. Government officials have even gone to hairdressing trade shows to outline what haircuts are legal. Also, in 2021, North Korea launched its own war against mullets and other foreign styles. In an effort to crack down on so-called non-socialist hairdos, the rogue communist country outlawed mullets and spiky dyed hair, while also enlisting the state-run Socialist Patriotic Youth League to act as literal fashion police against the banned cuts. Nose and lip piercings, skinny jeans, and branded t-shirts were also outlawed. And though this is hardly the worst human rights violation of this repressive regime, seems like Kim Jong-un is in no place to prosecute anyone for ridiculous haircuts.
I guess it's just like, it's one of them, just such a ridiculous thing that why are you doing it?
It's just a haircut.
It's just a haircut. Yeah, I mean, but it makes you realise. I know it's just a little thing, but the fact they're taking just a little thing away. What else have they taken away?
Yeah.
And it makes you think that little thing. I can do whatever I want in my hair. I take for granted. It's quite a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
We have got an ad break coming up, so we'll see you guys in a second.
Seems like Kim Jong-un is in no place to prosecute anyone for ridiculous haircuts. And it's not just hairstyles that don't make the cut, pun 100% intended. In the nation of Tajikistan, the secular government has waged a war on beards in an effort to crack down on what it sees as the influence of Islamic radicalism. In the country, only clean-shaven men can get passports, and beards are often forcibly shaved off by police officers. So, if you're a hirsute hipster looking to open up that barbershop just for that ironic beard and mustache, you'll have to look outside of Tajikistan, but obviously you've already set up shop in Williamsburg anyway. But just because it's legal to get a really terrible haircut in the United States doesn't mean that you won't be subject to a good spanking. Unless you're outside of the United States. Because when it comes to raising children, there's a fierce debate as to whether parents should spank their kids. Some parents live by the adage, use your words, not your hands, while other parents, particularly those influenced by older generations, live by the biblically inspired aphorism, spare the rod, spoil the child. But as a strictly legal matter, here in the grand old US of A, the right to spank your kids shall not be infringed. In fact, the use of corporal punishment on one's own children, defined as spanking, paddling, or other forms of physical punishment to correct misbehavior, is protected by law in all 50 states plus the District of Columbia. Now, for those of us whose parents spanked us...
I'm pretty sure that's illegal in the UK, isn't it?
Yeah, so only recently became, like, when I say recent, last 10 years or whatever, to hit your child's illegal.
Yeah.
And in Jersey, it only came in about 5 years ago that you can't.
Wow, there you go. Yeah, I think it's one of them. Probably somewhere in the middle of the two. Do you think it's probably the...
I'm not going to say anything, because I work in school.
Yeah, you work at school, don't you? But, obviously, words, obviously.
No, my personal preference is words anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Right, let's carry on.
Kids that
I'm not getting a debate
started.
Yeah,
What
you're
might
getting
surprise
in trouble.
in most of the United States is that it remains perfectly legal for teachers to paddle children in school, and not just in Springfield Elementary School.
Wow.
Talking out of turn, that's a paddling. Looking out the window, that's a paddling.
In fact, in 1977, the Supreme Court upheld the constitutionality of school spankings. In Ingram versus Wright, the court ruled 5-4 that paddling children in public schools did not violate the Eighth Amendment's ban on cruel and unusual punishment.
See, I think that's wrong.
As a result, the
That's definitely
Supreme Court left it up to the states to decide whether to allow spanking in educational settings or to ban it.
Oh, yeah!
And today, 19 U.S. states still allow public school personnel to use corporal punishment from preschool to the 12th grade. And for private schools, corporal punishment remains legal in every U.S. state except New Jersey and Iowa. But outside the United States, there has been a clear trend, not merely to dissuade parents from spanking children, but to actually make the practice illegal. In 1979, Sweden became the first country to explicitly ban spanking. This was wildly controversial at the time, sparking contentious debate about parental rights versus state responsibilities. And some Swedish headlines at the time included, quote, "Swedes have gone mad and the government takes charge of parenting in Sweden." But over the past 4 decades, the trend against spanking has been on the rise.
With a teacher thing, I'm just thinking here, like, with a teacher thing, obviously it's wrong anyway, but we're not going to get into that debate. But is it not just weird, a stranger touching?
See, this is why this is
kid's
like
sauce. You know what I mean?
I don't believe in parents doing it.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't think teachers have the right to do that.
Yeah.
Should not have the right to do that. Because if you're gonna, how you discipline your child at home, within the law is your own.
Yeah.
That's your parent. It's not somebody else's job to physically.
Exactly, and if you're a teacher, just expel him. You know
I
what I mean?
I think I'd be fuming if someone hit my child.
Yeah, and then just expel him because then you know what I mean.
Yeah,
There's other forms of punishment at school.
I mean, we never had that at school.
I know the older generation will say we had that at school, but it doesn't always make it right.
Just because you had it.
I just think it's weird. You're touching another kid's arse as a teacher, which isn't yours. It's a bit weird.
Right,
it's a bit weird.
World. In fact, according to the American Spanking Institute, in conjunction with Mothers for Hand Smacking, I'm just kidding, I made both of those just up. You gotta stay on your toes. No, I mean, according to the Global Initiative to End All Corporal Punishment of Children, a total of 63 countries have made smacking children illegal in any setting, including at home. And countries on this list span 5 continents, and in 2022, Wales became the latest country to ban the practice. And the bans are even more numerous in school settings, with corporal punishment in schools now outlawed in 135 countries.
Oh, you better believe that's a paddling.
Decades after Sweden's ban, anti-spanking advocates can point to hard data that suggests that a direct correlation between spanking bans and better adjusted children. But that being said, the prospect of actually prohibiting spanking at home remains unlikely in the United States, as many consider such a ban to be an oppressive intrusion by the state into parental rights. And even in the 21st century, spanking in the US has a share of high-profile defenders, particularly on the conservative side of the aisle.
I got hit with a strap, bam, 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 and I've never been to a shrink.
In 2014, Fox News commentator Sean Hannity famously defended parents' rights to spank their children, citing his own upbringing by beating the desk with a belt to a confused panel.
I got it like this. Yeah. And I deserved it. I was a troubled kid.
Now, notwithstanding the views of the obviously well-adjusted commentator who clearly turned out fine, spanking has seen a notable decline in the US. The proportion of parents who utilize the practice has dropped from 50% in 1993 to only 35% in 2017. But look, if you want your children to turn out like Sean Hannity, then maybe start with some spankings. But that takes us to a topic that almost everyone agrees on, and that is cannabis. Because in a nation that seems increasingly divided on almost every single issue, one of the few areas of bipartisan agreement is the embrace of legal marijuana. Now, although cannabis remains illegal under federal law, the feds have allowed states to experiment with their own loosened restrictions because,
Is that now legal in Jersey?
It's legal in the UK and Jersey for
medical things, isn't it?
Use,
not
yeah.
just you got to have a proper.
Not for recreational use. For
no, you got to get a proper license to be able to do it, don't you?
Yeah, you have to go to the doctors.
Yeah, go to those, but to produce it, you
can't produce it.
You've got to get a license and stuff.
I don't think you can even produce it.
No, you can, because I don't want to give too much away about where my mum lives, but the place behind.
Yeah, but you have to be like a company. You can't just have it in your garden.
Yeah, and then the company gets a license to be able to do it, and then they can do it. So there's people on Ireland doing it, but like I say, it's medical use only. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, on the kid thing, we don't understand it too much. Like you said, there's so many different steps. Take the PlayStation away. Take the phone away. So
there's more things you can do than hit them.
Definitely, but no argument.
It's personal preference.
No argument in the comments there.
As long as it's legal where you live.
With weed, it was just something we wanted really badly, and we kept asking them for 40 years, like, "Excuse me." And then suddenly the government became like cool parents, and they're just like, "Okay, here, take a little. We'd rather you do it in the house than go somewhere else, blah, 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 blah."
With that being said, Customs and Border Patrol works tirelessly to prevent drugs from entering this country. Like the time that they celebrated the interdiction of this massive haul of drugs from entering American shores. Thank you for your service. But as of 2022, recreational marijuana is currently legal in 18 states, DC, and Guam. 31 states plus DC have decriminalized low-level offenses, and a whopping 37 states allow it for medical use. With public support for full legalization standing at a record 68%, Americans certainly have come a long way since the days of reefer madness.
Innocently they dance, innocent of a new and deadly menace lurking behind closed doors. Marijuana, the burning weed with its roots in hell.
But try to take that wacky tobacco outside of our borders, and you could find yourself in severe legal jeopardy. In fact, in a handful of countries, possession of cannabis could have you staring down a hangman's noose. And this disparate legal treatment of cannabis abroad was recently put on display following a high-profile detention in Putin's Russia. In February 2022, U.S. women's basketball superstar Brittany Griner was arrested after customs authorities claimed to have found cannabis vape oil cartridges in her carry-on bag.
Wow.
But given that Griner's arrest came days before Russia invaded Ukraine, some have speculated that the Kremlin arrested Ms. Griner to pressure the U.S. and others to not stand in the way of Putin's invasion. To that point, Russia has been known to falsify drug charges against critics in the past, so it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility that the same happened here. I guess she should just consider herself lucky that she wasn't poisoned with a radioactive substance. But while a few dozen countries have relaxed restrictions on the planet,
allegedly on the poison, I guess, but I don't really know about her story. Hopefully she's not in jail anymore or anything like that, especially if she was framed. Let us know in the comments about it, because I didn't hear about that, did you?
No, so is it illegal in Russia?
I'm guessing so. Illegal just to have cannabis on you.
Then, this is where I kind of like get a bit... Like if you go to a country, you kind of have to follow... You try to follow, don't you?
Yeah.
The rules of the country, but then maybe she didn't know that.
If you don't know, and if it's something... So it's not like you've taken in a boatload of cannabis, I'm going to go and sell it, I'm going to deal it,
but
I'm going to make
Russia,
millions.
Of all places, that's not a good place to mess with the law.
No, it's not, but you think, okay, we've got vapes over there, you take it out, oh, that cannabis, I had in my vape, that's going to get me for a 9-year sentence, I think it said, didn't it? Let us know on that, because that sounds a bit brutal. One, if she was framed, And if
she was framed, and that's
also
different.
brutal. And if it is just over a little bit of oil web, in theory, they just say, couldn't I say, you can't have this. I know you could have it in America, can't have it, and then bin it. No? You know what I mean? Let us know in the comments. Unless they said, you'll go to jail if you have this, and she went, no, I don't, and then they found it. That's a bit different, I guess.
We don't know this.
We don't know. Let us know in the comments if you know more about it.
I'm scared of Russia anyway.
We're not going to Russia.
The use of cannabis remains very illegal in the vast majority of nations. For example, in 2021, 24-year-old British soccer coach Billy Hood was arrested in the United Arab Emirates with 4 bottles of CBD vape oil in his car. Local authorities charged Mr. Hood with drug trafficking and then sentenced him to 25 years in a Dubai prison. Mr. Hood's sentence was then reduced to 10 years on appeal, but he remains incarcerated. In 2013, Egypt executed Charles Raymond Ferndale, a 74-year-old British citizen, for allegedly smuggling 3 tons of hashish, which Ferndale insisted until his death that he had been tricked into doing by third parties. In 2021, Singapore sentenced Omar Yaqub Bamadhaj to death for bringing at least 2 pounds of cannabis into the country in 2018, and like Ferndale, his lawyers also argued he did not knowingly bring drugs into the country. Though despite America's comparatively looser pot restrictions, America still has over 40,000 people in jail for marijuana offenses, something that absolutely requires fixing. And even with these disparities, at the very least, though, toking up the United States will not result in the death sentence. But that's something that you can change in America because you have the right to vote. But you also have the right to not vote if you don't want to, because while millions of Americans stand up every election day to have their voices heard,
we have the right to vote or not vote. And
not vote, but there's definitely a lot of countries out there where you some don't even have a right to vote. Some, but you have to vote. Is there one? I suppose there must be if he's put not voting in. I suppose
like a similarity for us on the opposite of that is in England. Obviously, Jersey follows. You know, we have the same government, kind of. We're led by the UK government. Yeah. But we have, you do, but I have no right to vote in that election at all. But kind of we have to deal with whoever's. Yeah,
because it kind of follows on. But I guess Jersey could, in theory, if they wanted to go on their own route.
They could
technically.
But they have to get it passed by the UK government. And
yeah, I'm not sure.
I guess Jersey's ready for that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a confusing one, isn't it?
I think we'll stick with being...
yeah, Jersey on its own would probably
sister.
Be an absolute disaster, wouldn't it?
Millions of Americans also choose to sit down, stay home, and deliberately not vote at all.
If I were registered to vote, I'd send these clowns a message by staying home on election day and dressing up like a clown.
Now, it might seem obvious to say that you have the right not to participate in American elections, but it might surprise you to learn that staying home on election day is actually illegal in over 24 countries. That's right, in 27 countries, all eligible citizens are required by law to register and vote in every single election. Though several countries like Chile, Italy, and the Dominican Republic that previously adopted mandatory voting have since abandoned the practice. A handful of countries with compulsory voting don't actually enforce any penalty for failure to vote, like Bulgaria, Costa Rica, and Mexico, but over a dozen countries enforce a penalty for failing to vote in elections. Some countries penalize non-voters with outright disenfranchisement. In Singapore, a voter that misses an election is removed from voting rolls and must re-register and submit a valid reason for not voting. Other countries issue fines and
that's pretty mental,
result in jail time. Brazil requires all eligible citizens, excluding the illiterate, voters aged 16 and 17, and those aged 70, to vote or be subject to a fine of less than $1. In Australia, citizens are legally required to go to their polling place, but can choose to decline to participate after signing in. However, failure to show up at the polling place at all can subject Aussies to a fine of 100 didgeridoos, probably, or the equivalent of $14 to $34 US, and citizens who repeatedly refuse to pay the small fine.
What's the point? Because
it's all about money. That to me seems like something where they know people aren't going to vote. They know people aren't, so they're just going to go.
Whose actual right is that to take money off people because they don't want to go and vote?
I don't know.
Doesn't.
Yeah. But then I guess if you get into that department, then is it kind of like...
You can't moan if you don't vote.
You can't moan if you didn't vote, and is it kind of like how can you enforce other fines? Because whose right is to say, yeah, I need a fine for that? Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, but that just seems silly.
I know you mean, it does seem silly. It is all about the money, because they know
$14.
They're going to get 1 million people or whatever not voting, and they've just made however much, you know what I mean, 14 million.
If they don't pay the fine of $14 and they get jail time.
Yes, that's just a threat, so they pay the fine, I'm guessing. Let's not think about it. I think it is just a money-making scheme. But I know people aren't going to vote, so why not make money off it?
Seems wrong.
It seems that way. Oh, definitely wrong, yeah.
Go to jail. Among countries with compulsory voting laws, there are those that tie voting directly to your pocketbook. For example, in Peru, a voter must have a stamped voting card to obtain certain services and goods from some public offices. And in Bolivia, a voter is given a card to prove participation, and a citizen who cannot show proof of voting within 3 months after the election will be ineligible to receive a salary from the bank.
Wow. Yeah, you're
Advocates
definitely
for
voting.
this compulsory system, like in the democratic participation to civil responsibilities like taxation, jury duty, and military service, and argue that participating in democracy is a duty instead of a right.
Okay.
Others argue that forcing people to vote compels higher voter turnout, as Australia rarely falls below 90% participation,
I'm not
while
surprised.
Brazil's most recent
good.
presidential election was just below 80%. And compare that to the United States, where voter turnout struggles to crack 50% in a midterm election and only occasionally breaks 60% in presidential contests. However, the idea of forcing people to vote and punishing them for non-participation is not a popular concept among nations with voluntary suffrage. Critics see voting as a civic right rather than a duty, and contend that forcing someone to vote is counter to the very idea of liberty and free choice.
Very true.
And some American legal scholars contend that mandatory voting laws would constitute compelled speech that violates the First Amendment, as the right to speak necessarily involves the freedom not to speak. So as long as you live in the United States, you can rest assured of your constitutional right to say none of the above.
The only thing that's silly is the power of the people's vote. And I think the people should use it to vote for none of the above.
Now, if you want to see even more dumb criminals and terrible lawyers, check out my new video, Too Hot for YouTube.
Well,
but
I think there is another video of what isn't illegal, what isn't legal in the US, but is everywhere else. If you want us to check out that, let us know in the comments. I think you said 2,400 likes on this video, didn't you? And it's been a long one, so get liking. Hopefully you guys have seen this cause for fibre. We haven't buffered, we haven't cut out once in this video. It has been amazing. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed. Smash the like button, guys. Smash that subscribe button and watch the video.
Have a fantastic day.
We'll see you legends in the next one. Peace.